Every enterprise is unique. I'll give you an analogy. Back in the day, if people needed to get a trouser or a shirt, you'll go to a tailor. You couldn't go and buy a shirt. They'll build to actually create a good shirt for you because it's up to your measurement and fit. It'll take a long time and cost a lot of money. The ready-made shirts, of course, it doesn't quite fit exactly, but it's cheaper and faster. So you're like, okay, we'll ignore. I think ready-made software today, like SaaS software, is like that. Enterprise sales process is long, takes 9 months for very large deals. A lot of our deals are large 7-figure deals per year, multi-year, etc. So, it's not like a consumer, I'll put my credit card, pay $10, forget about it for 6 months. Enterprises are careful and takes a long time to go through their entire process. Top piece of advice is, look, you have product market fit when your average salesperson can go and sell your product without you being in the room.
That's product market fit.
Product market fit.
Product market fit.
I called it the product market fit question.
Product market fit.
Product market fit.
Product market fit.
Product market fit.
I mean, the name of the show is Product Market Fit.
Do you think the Product Market Fit show has product market fit? Because if you do, then there's something you just have to do. You have to take out your phone. You have to leave the show 5 stars. It lets us reach more founders and it lets us get better guests. Thank you.
Surojit, welcome to the show, man.
Excited to be here.
See, you've got a pretty crazy resume. VP at Google, you're a chief product officer at Coinbase, EIR at A16Z, and now you've started Emma, which is in the AI agent for enterprise world. We're going to get into all that. We're going to get into why you started it, how you got there. But because this is the product market fit show, let me capture a moment in time. Like, when would you say was the moment when you felt like you'd found true product market fit?
For us, look, we are an enterprise software company, right? We are building AI employees for largest enterprises. Just to give a little bit of background, right? For a startup of our size, starting out, you are trying to get to Fortune 500 and telling them you're going to touch their most sensitive data, like their employee data, their finance data. These are areas where we go really deep. That's a very difficult kind of proposition to start with. So for us, the breakthrough was really, one of our clients, Hitachi, a very large conglomerate, and they were trying to automate HR operations for 5 of their companies and create a shared service across them. And they have around 55,000 employees across these companies. So it's a very complex setup. You are touching sensitive data. You are on multiple cloud platforms at the same time. The agents need to coordinate and cooperate. For me, when we could deploy and showcase that it actually works, it was really the moment I felt, we have hit product market fit in terms of the scalability of the product, the governance, security, and the selling to other clients just became that much easier for us because its credibility is everything in an enterprise context.
And was this like when you signed the contract or once you've fully deployed and you were seeing the outcome?
When we deployed and started seeing the outcome. Signing the contract is only the first step in many of the enterprise deployments. What's happening is a lot of enterprises are doing a lot of POCs and pilots. So this was not a pilot. We already did a pilot, did POC, we went through the whole process. Actual full deployments, touching production level data. And by the way, now this is not our largest deployment at all. Now we have other clients that are even larger and in production. But that was, in my head, was really the beginning of the journey.
And maybe as a way, this could be like a perfect example to use to really understand what it is that you do. Like, what did they want to accomplish with Emma, with the product? How did it all work as a way for us to really get what it is that you do?
So look, we are an AI employee company. So we build AI employees. We have a platform that allows us to build AI employees. What are AI employees? AI employees are basically teams of agents. Now, a lot of people are seeing this in the real world and from a lot of other companies as well. We started working on it probably before anybody else. 2.5 years back, right out of the gate, we had the same vision. What do these AI employees do? They basically connect to multiple systems. So they have think of a mesh of agents, like a team of agents. Each agent is skilled in certain thing, and they're all coordinated using our own orchestrator and control plane. These agents will touch or operate different tools. in the enterprise. It could be your Workday, your Greenhouse, your ServiceNow, your Salesforce. We'll also connect to all kinds of data sources. The data doesn't need to be cleaned. It can be anywhere, SharePoint or Google Drive, database, wherever it is, data warehouse. These agents will understand the data, understand the policies, understand your process, reformat your process, kind of reimagine what the process needs to be, create an kind of an agentic workflow, and automate what I call the human glue between systems today. Like every enterprise today has hundreds of applications, SaaS applications, and thousands of people who are acting as glue between those applications, moving data from one, pushing data somewhere else, creating a report, sending an email. Think about what people do day to day in an enterprise. So we are creating that intelligence and action layer across these applications and all this data, which basically frees up humans to do more value-added work rather than doing the same similar mundane work every day.
So maybe, I mean, that's high level, right? But like, just to get to the specifics, like what exactly did they want AI agents to do?
Look, simple things to very complex things, right? For simple things will be, hey, I am an employee in a country, right? So let's say I'll give example of another client, right? They have 250,000 employees, 65 different countries, large services company, professional services company, Wipro, actually. Their employees are very mobile because they do projects with customers and so on. Very complex HR ops because employees are asking questions about, hey, what's my vacation policy? Oh, I was hired in Romania and now I am in Germany. What is my benefits look like, right? Can I go to a doctor? Usually all of those questions will go to HR and they will answer. So that's questions are only one part of it, which is in itself is complex because there are 65 different labor laws and policies and so on, right?
But that's more of while getting the data is complex, that's more like a chatbot type.
The chatbot. And there are actions. Somebody says, hey, I need to move to another location. That kicks off a whole workflow inside HR, right? Which is like, okay, arranging their move, changing their tax form, maybe changing their comp, changing their management. There is a whole workflow orchestration that HR has to do. We are working with another large company today. It's crazy. They have 65,000 job changes every month.
Wow.
Within the company, like people either getting promoted, moving to another role, whatever it is, right? Moving to another location, all kinds of things. These are massive global companies. And for each one of those 65,000, you imagine there will be some humans involved, helping and orchestrating that change, right? Can you automate that? And that automation requires, it's not just a chatbot, right? Multi-step planning, orchestration, touching different systems of records, and helping the employee through that change. So anything from book my travel. In a lot of companies, there's some team internally helping book travels, right? Or timesheet management. So consulting companies in particular, they have to manage their timesheet very critically because that's how they charge their customers. Or book a cab even, right? Because some of these companies are running large operations team that are doing overnight shifts, and then company provides some benefits. So you can take a company cab and go home or whatever, right? So everything and anything, all through a simple interface. And imagine that you don't need to go through any human or any tools. The biggest challenge today is proliferation of tools. So there are 100 plus tools in this company doing all this, for doing all these different things. And there are 1,000 plus humans that you can reach out to. You also don't know who to reach out to sometimes. You're like, oh, my laptop is not working. See, an employee ultimately, they don't know, or is this falling into HR or IT or finance? My laptop is not working. I want to change my payroll election, right? Selections, W-2 selection, whatever, right? Or my, deductions, or I want to change my benefits, or a lot of things fall in the fringes of employees don't even know which department they need to go to, they need to talk to, which application they need to touch, and where they need to go. All of that is automated. For Wipro, for example, they report from 1,000 people, they have been able to first, reduce the time taken for any of these requests. These are not just questions, requests, from 5 to 7 days to few seconds to minutes, right? So that's a big deal for the company overall. And then from 1,000 people, going to like 550 people at 45% reduction. So employees are happier, higher CSAT. At the same time, you're doing the same work with much less number of people. Of course, HR is always overburdened. It's not like HR didn't have any work to do. They were probably doing only 50% HR and 50% paper pushing. So all the paper pushing, all that is gone, or most of it is gone. So you can actually do a lot more real HR work. And it's not just HR, that's kind of true for every function.
That's what I was going to ask though. Are your AI agents, like, are you vertically focused on HR or employee related matters?
So we are a horizontal platform that can create these AI employees to what we call agentically transform your business. We are reimagining working with these enterprises, how their future org structure will look like with AI employees and human employees kind of coming together. And it's not just replacing one human by one AI agent, it's reimagining the entire process. Right? A lot of times it's a broken process. You don't want to replicate that with AI. We go deep. So it's horizontal. You can potentially automate anything. We go deep in HR. We go quite deep in finance ops, like, APAR optimization, source to pay, code to cash. And we go deep in some of the customer support use cases, which is also for very scaled companies, like companies which has very large number of humans actually running customer support today. We kind of help them optimize their operations and moving off kind of mundane work off humans to AI employees.
So now that we understand kind of like what it is that you do, maybe let's go back to the beginning. You started this in early 2023. Give us a little bit of context. Like, what were you doing before, and how did you have this idea? What's the origin story?
Sure. I spent my entire career working for high-tech companies here in the Valley, right? So 14 years at Google, I built and led mobile ads for that entire time. Mobile ads became almost $100 billion plus business for Google, now even bigger, I suppose. So I had seen this massive growth. And then I was at Coinbase running all of product. I was chief product officer at Coinbase and helping Coinbase rapidly expand users and revenue between 20 to 2023 and help Coinbase go public in 2021. So my experience has been running businesses, building and scaling teams. And I've hired a lot of great people in my career over the time. The one thing that always comes in the way is you hire all these talented people and then you realize, 50-60% of their time is just keeping the lights on, doing the same thing over and over again. I'll go and talk to like my engineering VP or engineering counterparts at Google or Coinbase, and they'll be like, yeah, don't look at 3,000 engineers. We have only 1,500 because rest is just keeping the lights on. And that's true for every function, right? Everywhere. And that's, to me, this was the fundamental question. Can we hire like really talented people and make them even more effective, give them work or put them in front of work that is really innovative, creative, and not mundane work like filling out spreadsheets, go into this tool, do something. That's what a lot of work today is in the enterprise. A lot of updating things across the board, updating things for your managers, creating reports. That's probably 80-90% of the work today, which I think can be automated. And humans are capable of doing a lot more innovative, creative, and value-added work.
And then how did you decide? Like, that's kind of the high level problem, which I, completely agree with. And it's been a problem for a long time. Obviously with AI, it all of a sudden became a possibility of solving a huge component of that. When do you realize that's possible? And what are some of the early steps that you take to see that there's a real opportunity here?
Look, when late 2022, ChatGPT came out and there was a lot of talk about LLMs. I started playing with it. I was deciding to step out of Coinbase. That was early 23. I started playing with it myself, right? And one thing in my head was, can we actually use this technology as a platform, as almost like an operating system, to create ability to dynamically plan, use tools, and use memory? I mean, those are the unique human capabilities. We use tools. We have memory, that it means we learn from feedback from the environment and we adapt automatically. Without that, this technology will not work because you will keep building the fixed software, which has been the root cause of this problem, which is, we have a lot of software, but they're fixed, right? So they don't change. You have to go and keep tweaking, keep doing things for them to kind of adapt to your business. So for me, the first step was I started tweaking, writing my code, some code myself, which I haven't done for a long time. To be honest, I was an executive running large businesses and so on. But my roots are, I'm a builder, I was an engineer, computer science, bachelor's and master's. And then I started reading a lot of research papers at that time that came out in early 23 on how can we use these LLM frameworks, LLM systems to start dynamically planning and taking actions. This was really the root of the whole agentic thinking. The word agent was not in vogue. If you read the papers, nobody was using that word. We called it AI employee because I really wanted to model it after how humans work. That was the genesis, and got together with a few other, ex-colleagues of mine from Google. My co-founder is also ex-Google, 10 plus years there. And we got very excited about this idea, started building some rudimentary prototypes, which worked a lot with early days. Some of the PhD students who were writing these papers, like almost as volunteers, some of them joined us back later.
Oh, you're such a selfish person. I actually can't believe how selfish you are because you've been listening to the show, you listened to this episode, you loved it, you've listened to a bunch of other episodes, and you haven't told anyone about it. You haven't told any of the many founder friends that you have about it. Think about how many founders have helped you out when you're building your startup. So don't be selfish. Tell your friends about this episode, tell them about the show, and help me help them.
With these big ideas, on the one hand, they're obvious in the sense that if you can say to someone, hey, if I could create AI employee that costs 10% of what a normal employee does and works 24/7, would you buy it? Yes, of course I would. Today, people are like, maybe you could do that. When you were starting, it was more far-fetched. And so how do you go from that huge idea to something tangible? When you start prototyping, what is the first version that you build? What's the first thing you want to test out?
Yeah, great question. See, the technology has moved and improved a lot in the last couple of years. But at that time, a lot of things would not work. So you have to have a belief in where this technology will be in a few years and start building with for that future. It's like, early days when e-commerce got built. People would have a lot of doubts. I can only say that probably buy some books. Will I ever buy, dress online?
Let alone a mattress. Yeah, things have changed.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, I'll give you a little bit of context. I've always worked on things that are in the frontier. So when I was working on mobile, now it is very obvious, right? I mean, my kids, they have not seen a world before mobile, so mobile phones. So they're like, how did it look like? But when I was starting, like 2007, mobile advertising at Google, and then I remember during first few years was struggle to convince even internally this will be big. Forget externally. I had a discussion. I remember early days. This was still like 2010 or something with CMO of Macy's advertising customers. I'm like, mobile advertising will change the world. You need to make sure you have a mobile app or a mobile site that actually works and people can transact. And he was like, yeah, I see it, but I don't think anybody will buy a dress on a mobile phone. They may just browse, maybe see the picture, but they'll come to the store. So I like your enthusiasm. So I still remember it. Because I was kind of much junior. I was given 10 minutes in the end of a 2-hour meeting. The last guy comes in, or he's kind of mobile guy, but it's still early. And he's like, I like your enthusiasm, but I don't think it'll be true. So,
Crazy.
that's crazy, right? I mean, now you're like, do I ever go to a store unless I really want to, kill some time or something, right? I felt the same way about this technology when we were starting, right? It was not working, very broken, a lot of things will go wrong, but the trends were there. We started building actually early on some customer support agents, and there was a lot of problems, a lot of challenges, right? To make it work, particularly in taking actions. See, answering questions was still possible, but taking actions was super hard. Right? Integrations with applications, creating dynamic plans. And the biggest thing is humans trusting AI also. That, I will open up my system of record for you to kind of come and do some surgery agentically. That was a big leap of faith. But I think today we are all at that future already. We are seeing that it's very much possible And we seeing a traction of a different kind.
So then what was the first thing that you built to show that this could be possible, to take a step in the right direction?
Yeah, actually, I mean, we always talk about things that work. Let's talk about things that didn't work. Maybe. First thing we built, it didn't work at well. Our initial idea was like we wanted to build a horizontal platform, but we were very clear. We want to showcase that this platform works by building actual applications, actual kind of solving some problem, right? Like what we are doing today with HR or finance. So we were initially we tried for a couple of months, like analytics area. The spreadsheet jungle every enterprise has today. Can you actually declutter it? At that time, it was very difficult. It was just, today it's much better and getting there. And we thought, okay, this is not probably the right application to build today. We have the platform, we're building the platform, but we should go and build some of the other applications first. I think the two applications where we saw a lot of good resonance, one was HR, which again, we didn't know, we saw it in other companies. HR is very fragmented. Right? There are think of just onboarding an employee. You have to touch 20, 30 systems to onboard an employee, giving access to different areas, L&D, compliance training, all kinds of stuff that you have to do for that employee. It's in a large company, it's a nightmare. Look at every stage of an employee's journey from recruiting, sourcing, onboarding, day-to-day, just employee experience, all the way to maybe offboarding or any change, like the change of role, change of location, right? All the way to offboarding, and even post offboarding, employees have questions. Oh, I want to get my tax form from last year, right? Can you give me an employee verification letter that I worked for you for last 10 years? Every employer has to fill those requests as well. We felt there's just so many broken windows, right, in this area. Agents or AI employees are the right solution. And we started seeing a lot of traction. We are seeing same thing for, say, something like finance, where similar broken windows, lots of different things you are touching. The other big thing here is every enterprise is unique. And this is a kind of a realization, right? Which is, look, I'll give you an analogy. Back in the day, maybe you and I may not remember, if people needed to get a trouser or a shirt, right? You'll go to a tailor. You couldn't go and buy a shirt. You'll go to a tailor, they'll take the measurement, they'll actually create a good shirt for you because it's up to your measurement and fit. It'll take a long time and cost a lot of money. The ready-made shirts, of course, it doesn't quite fit exactly because every one of our bodies are unique and different, but it's cheaper and faster. So you're like, okay, we'll ignore. And if we have the time, maybe we'll take it to a tailor and tweak it or whatever, right? I think ready-made software today, like SaaS software, is like that. Software, same thing happened back in 70s, 80s. You will get a tailor-made software, which will cost tens of millions of dollars. You'll probably call IBM or somebody to look at your enterprise and say, okay, build an HR system custom for me. It's very expensive, takes a long time. And of course, you can get any SaaS app today quickly, up and running, but it doesn't quite fit your business or your enterprise. So then you call hordes of consultants, internal people, IT, etc., to do patchwork around it or train people on how to use it in the way you want to use it. I think we are going to get into the era now where the tailor-made trousers can be cheaper and faster than ready-made. So tailor-made software, right, is cheaper and faster to deploy, actually. And that's a big step forward. I think the entire enterprise stack is going to get disrupted. That's what we are excited about. Back in the day, 2.5 years back, I wrote a blog that SaaS will be dead. Before Satya or anybody else actually said that, you can go and check. We are at that place today. The entire enterprise software stack, by dead, they need to evolve. Some of them will be dead and some of them will evolve, just like any previous era of technology. But this also presents opportunity to rethink how enterprise stack look like and also how enterprise organization structure should look like.
One of the key things, like you're working with very large enterprise and, once you have a product, that works and you have case studies, there's a motion you can get into for enterprise sales. We'll actually go deep and talk about. But before you can even get there, you have to have some enterprises that give you the time of day for you to experiment with them in a way that's just, the bar is much higher than when you're doing consumer or SMB, because you can just run ads, get some customers, they use the product, they churn out, you move on, you just kind of keep doing that. With enterprises, you obviously can't do that. Tell me about how you got the first 1, 2, or 3 customers to say, you know what, yeah, here's access to something, and let's see if you can build something useful and deliver ROI before you had a real full-fledged product.
Yeah, great question. I think for us, first few customers was probably the biggest hurdle, which is exactly what you were saying. Like, why should I believe you? Is your product fully built? The challenge is, unless I touch your data, I can't really show you a product. So we had to figure out steps. Okay, we'll show you the product using lots of proxy data, say we create. It's not exactly the same, but it shows. Then we'll do very contained POCs and pilots, right? Then we'll touch maybe a few production systems and keep the blast radius small. And so step by step, there are a few things we did early on that created a lot of confidence in our potential customers. We went and got all our certifications, compliance done within the first few months, right? Of course, some things take more time, but like SOC 2, Type 1, Type 2, ISO 42001, GDPR, HIPAA, anything and everything. If you go to trust.ema.ai, you can see that anytime. A lot of people will tell me, oh, why are you doing all these certifications? But that investment really paid off. The other thing, there are architectural decisions we took that really helped, and those are hard things to do. Look, if you are building a consumer application, you'll build it on your cloud, right? It's multi-tenant, it's like deployment, etc. is much easier. It's fully under your control, right? Enterprises are different. So we made our product in such a way that it can run on any cloud, fully containerized. It's much harder to do. Not only that, it can run on customers' private cloud, fully air-gapped. It's very, very hard to do. Air-gapped means it cannot access any external service while it's running. It has to be fully contained inside their cloud, right? All uses native services, and it can run within a box, kind of, right? That's what they need to know, they need to see to be sure, you are not going to create a security issue for them. Those are very hard things to do. Architecturally, a lot of investment is needed, and very hard to do later on in your life cycle as a company. Because once you have built the whole product, then you have to go back and ripping it out and rebuilding. Very difficult. So those were things. For more than a year, we were under stealth. We didn't even build a website. That's our history. Because we wanted to build the product the right way and spend a lot of time doing all of this infrastructure. We built a whole governance layer where any PII, PHI gets auto-redacted. Every agentic execution, so our AI employs as teams of agents. Sometimes there are like 40, 50, 100 agents. Every execution is completely traceable. The complete lineage of every decision, right? Explanation of why some agent made a decision, and then ability to take feedback and automatically kind of change their behavior.
And how did you, this is kind of all the product side stuff that you do just to be enterprise grade, which I think is obviously critical. It's a necessary condition. But then tell me about the first, was it just relationship based where you maybe knew somebody at some enterprise and they just trusted in you? You kind of took that credibility and said, okay, I'm going to leverage the time usefully to try and build something here. And then they opened the door. Is that how you kind of got in?
For us, it was, I'll say, combination of some came through relationship, but many very serendipitously actually came through sometimes even a cold email. I kid you not. I have gotten cold email back, reach out. Hey, I see your vision. It's interesting. Can you come and talk to us and show us what you got? One of our largest partners today came through a cold email.
Let's dive into that. You were in stealth for a long time. What did you do for them to see what you were doing and give you that cold email inbound?
Yeah. So look, we didn't spend a ton in marketing at all. We spent very little. I think what has been instrumental for us is projecting our vision out effectively. We do a lot of work with influencers, analysts. So early on, Gartner and HFS Research and Everest Group, we're in the leaders bracket in Everest Group's agentic products for last 3 years, right? The entire life of our company. All those things help because people see, oh, this is a credible player. We published a bunch of articles in, say, Harvard Business Review, HBR, with some of our advisors or other thought leaders in the industry and so on. I think creating that credibility is super important. That, okay, you are an enterprise player. You have built technology that is ahead of others. You won't steal my data. You understand what it is to play in the enterprise. So credibility and trust, and reflecting that trust in the product itself. So they can see, our customers can see everything I'm talking about manifests in the product really well.
And then to explore a different piece, like let's go on tactics. When you think about closing enterprise customers, what's one thing that you've done that has worked particularly well, whether it's an outbound tactic or inbound? But just, imagine I'm an early stage founder, I'm selling to enterprise, and I'm trying to get something here that I can copy and start implementing to just get more conversations going. What would be like a top one that you've done?
The answer will be different for every company. For us, close small group conversations have been very useful, which is, we host dinners with industry leaders, say CHROs and so on, right, in different cities. And these are small group conversations. Actually, our process is to not sell. We are trying to get people to think about agentic business transformation. And through that conversation, we get to know them, build relationship, and then that turns out into a commercial relationship over time. Enterprise sales process is long. It may take 9 months for a very large deal, 7-figure. A lot of our deals are large 6-figure or large 7-figure deals per year, multi-year, etc. So those things don't happen like, it's not like a consumer, I'll put my credit card, pay $10, forget about it for 6 months, right? I may or may not use it. Enterprises are careful, and it takes a long time to go through their entire process and so forth. So you have to have that patience. So to me, like building credibility, getting your name out, understand where it's sticking. For example, a lot of people spend a lot of time in large conferences. For us, that was not the right approach. Like, for example, if you go to a very large conference, right, 30,000 people showing up, you as a small company, probably not noticeable at all. A lot of the attendees of these conferences also are not necessarily decision makers, right? They may be junior folks in enterprises. For us, the level of contracts we are signing requires like a C-level buy-in. And the C-level folks are not necessarily just walking around in a large conference floor. They're super busy. So how to get to the right people in the right place is important. One thing that I personally try to avoid is kind of FOMO and replicate what somebody else is doing, right? Oh, somebody else is doing this, so I should go and do it as well. You have to find your own process and own method. Of course, it will change over time. Look, early days to today is a little bit different. Today, we do see kind of mid-sized conferences that are useful for us, but very large conferences probably not yet that useful now, right?
Let me ask you just a market-related question, because you're on the frontier of this. As you're talking to these enterprises about AI and AI agents specifically, where are you finding most are landing, right? All the way from the extreme of, because of AI agents, I'm going to not hire any more humans or fire all the humans I have and just basically just purely AI agents. That's one extreme, but unlikely, but just to draw the spectrum. And then on the other extreme, because of AI agents, I'm just going to do way more, and I'm therefore going to hire more humans and more AI agents, and just the output is going to grow exponentially. Like, where on that spectrum do you think things land for most large enterprises based on your conversations?
See, most enterprises are not, unlike maybe what people think in Silicon Valley, are not looking at just letting go of people. They are looking at, how do I get more efficiency, revenue efficiency? My people are already overburdened, right? How do I create a better work culture, atmosphere? I mean, if you look at any examples, say healthcare, right? The average nurse is, first of all, there are not enough nurses available to hire, like trained nurses. Second is 50% of their time is in paperwork, right? So they would rather spend time with the patient care, but they have to do all this paperwork, right? So even when a hospital hires a nurse, they're only getting like half an hour or something. So I think the first level is efficiency, productivity. Even, some of the VCs are saying the same thing. I see with all these AI tools, it's not like people are working a lot less. They're working on things that they like to work on, but they are excited to see, oh, I can do this also. I can get so much more done, right? That's what I am hearing. By the way, one more thing I'll mention in your question on go-to-market approach. For us, a big thing has been partnership. We partnered with some of the largest consulting firms, GSIs. These partners have very large reach, like whether, PricewaterhouseCoopers or KPMG and so on. Because what we are doing requires C-level folks to think differently and transform their organization. And a lot of these partners have been doing that for a long time, have been advising clients. So that has been another thing for us. And even in this kind of sales process, we are often going with partners and helping draw this picture in front of the client that what would your organization look like in a few years with your current headcount? Like, what can you do more? I'm sure there'll be restructuring. I'm sure some of that will also happen. In some areas like customer support, I do see there is more radical shift happening. Other areas, it's more efficiency gains.
Perfect. Well, let's stop it there. Let me ask the final question, which is, if you think about an early stage founder looking for product market fit, what is like a top piece of advice that you might have for them?
Top piece of advice is, look, you have product market fit when your average salesperson can go and sell your product without you being in the room. I am continuously looking at that and saying, okay, can I train my sales team to go and sell without me being in the room? Sometimes, of course, for larger deals, etc., you still have to show up. And it's different for different types of products, which is like, look, some products are more complex than others, right? But can you get to a point where somebody can articulate that is simply what the product does and what benefit it will bring for you?
Perfect. Well, Surojit, thanks so much for jumping on the show, man. It's been awesome.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Wow, what an episode. You're probably in awe. You're in absolute shock. You're like, that helped me so much. So guess what? Now it's your turn to help someone else. Share the episode in the WhatsApp group you have with founders. Share it on that Slack channel. Send it to your founder friends and help them out. Trust me, they will love you for it.